Do you suffer from debilitating migraines? You know, that throbbing pain in the front or side of your head that's so severe you're unable to work or do anything other than retreat into a dark and quiet room? Have you had them for years and just haven't found a solution? Call Dr. Elizabeth Ebersol and put an end to your debilitating migraines forever. Or go to her website at www.handmadehealth.com. That's www.handmadehealth.com.
Hello, everybody. It's Balls to the Wall, episode number 5, as Nick Harris is on assignment again. But I have my sidekick down here, Billy Martin Jr. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good. High five to you on episode number 5.
Yes, it's fun to be back. Sorry I was out of town last week. I know we couldn't get one done last week, but I'm here for the rest of the way now. No more trips out or anything. So we're here to the Christmas time. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm Kenny Matthews, your host here today. And Billy Martin Jr., we're going to talk a little NFL football. It started last Thursday night as the beloved Dallas Cowboys go on the road to the defending champions, Tampa Bay. And boy, that was an excellent game for a kickoff for the NFL season. I wanted to look this up. I don't know what the ratings were, but they had to have tremendous ratings last Thursday because I think the country's been starving for football, full stands. You know, you got the defending champ, you've got the star helmet, which brings all kinds of ratings along whenever they play, especially on the road. I mean, what a tremendous, tremendous football game. And I guess there's these answers about preseason. Should you play in preseason or not play in preseason? Well, Dak doesn't play in preseason. He throws 400 yards. Tom Brady played 3 games in preseason, and he throws for almost 400 yards, but Brady is Brady. I mean, gosh, that was an up and down game. You just kind of felt that if Brady had enough time, he was going to get him down the field to win the game. And inevitably, Brady does what Brady seems to always do, come from behind and win another game.
Yeah, it was hard not to cheer for him in last year's Super Bowl, even though, I love our kid from East Texas. I love Mahomes. I'm cheer for him from now on, but I so wanted Brady to be able to lose that. It's Belichick's system. That's the reason he's been so successful. And, there were a lot of Patriot fans that believe in Belichick and, it was fine just letting Brady walk away. And I got to be honest, I would have been furious. Right? I mean,
Absolutely.
People give Jerry a hard time about everything here in Dallas, but I doubt very seriously Jerry Jones would ever have let his franchise quarterback that won 6 Super Bowls walk away for a little bit of money. And they did, and Brady stuck that right where the sun doesn't shine, and pretty darn neat to watch.
And very reminiscent to when Joe Montana left San Francisco. I mean, it really is to go to Kansas City. I think that's about as close as I was thinking because Joe Montana still had something left. He took Kansas City to the NFC. He's at an AFC championship game. He had 2 or 3 good years after the fact, but yeah, you can't let it go.
Yeah, but at least they had Steve Young.
Yeah,
right.
Another Hall of Fame quarterback.
Right, we knew he was a star in the making, and at times even looked better than Joe, except for those last 2 minutes where the Montanas, and the Brady's, Staubachs were just special. That's sneak. I heard so many people predict, the Cowboys are going to get blown out. This isn't even going to be close. And I'll tell you what, if anybody else is kicking for the Cowboys, people still dancing around the rock after that game.
I was thinking, I said, somebody was talking about, kicking the field goals and all that. I said, well, all that would have made Tom Brady do is just get touchdown instead, a field goal. I mean, I'm thinking, you're counting on him still not coming through the end. I like my odds with the number 12, anytime in that situation. I
No
mean,
doubt.
Tom Brady kind of reminds me a little bit of what Roger Staubach used to be. It just seemed like there's never enough points ahead that he can't seem to overcome. You think about the Super Bowl against Atlanta down 18 at halftime, them storming back and winning that game. It's kind of reminiscent of Roger going out to San Francisco down 16 points and boom, they win the game out there in San Francisco. It's they've got that clutch gene that you cannot teach or coach. It's just
You sure can. I moved to Dallas from Minnesota. Well, I was born in Minnesota, and so I used to go to Vikings games with my father as a kid. He was the Twins manager, and we would stand on the sidelines in the snow up to my armpits, because I was just a little bitty guy.
At Metropolitan. Oh God,
Oh,
you
yeah.
lucky guy.
I get to play street football with Fran Tarkington's son.
God.
So I was a huge Vikings fan, and who beat the Vikings with the Hail Mary pass, right? So
Yes.
I moved to Dallas, and I hate the Cowboys. I hated them. I mean, and then as time went on, and Roger was gone, and Danny White started playing, and they just started beating me down, where I started to really love Danny White, because I thought it was so cool that he punted and was the quarterback.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so had become a 49ers fan. My father was from the Bay Area,
Sure.
and I got to spend a New Year's Eve hanging out with Dad and Mickey Mantle, and then went to a Huey Lewis concert and got to meet Joe Montana, Dwight
Wow.
Clark, Tom Rathman, who I even saw play college football at Nebraska.
Right. Mm-hmm. Oh,
And so I become a 49ers fan, and I watched the catch. I was the only person in the room cheering for the 49ers during that game, and literally woke up the next day a Cowboy fan, because everybody started hacking on Danny White. He's no Captain Comeback. He's no Roger Staubach. And I'm screaming at my friends, what do you mean? He got the ball with 4 minutes. He drove down, scored a touchdown. It's not his fault that Joe Montana took a minute 26 to go down and score, like you were talking about, that special guy that just nothing can stop. It wasn't Danny White's fault. Danny did his job, and everybody was hacking on him. I'm like, how about let's maybe talk about the defense or the plays that weren't made,
or Eric Hicks making a fingertip tackle on Tony Hill. That goes to the house. I mean, that goes to the house.
Right.
He didn't fumble the ball. Tony Dorsett fumbled the ball. I think Danny White's the most much maligned quarterback to ever suit up in this town ever.
He never got a chance, right? He never got a chance to live up to Roger. And look, come on, Roger was Roger. I mean, he was that mad magician in the fourth quarter. But dang, Danny White was great, and he really never got a chance to even get that. I mean, funny part is, then I became a Cowboy fan, and they were really terrible for quite a while until Jerry bought the team and Aikman came around, and we got to watch the triplets do their thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting talking about it. Yeah, I know a lot of diehard Cowboy fans are really sitting and just rolling their eyes as we're talking, giving props to Danny White. Half our audience just gave us the bird. But here's a guy though. He got the 3 NFC Championship games, and I said he only played horrible in one. The Danny, where he throws the interception in the Washington game. But of the other games, it wasn't Danny White's fault that they lost the game. It never was. But, coming off that Captain Clutch for so long, and it seemed like he never lost the game. I think that's one of the hardest things to do is replace a Hall of Fame quarterback, because that
Sure.
city's been so used to outstanding, excellent play. If you're just above average, that's not good enough. San Francisco was lucky that they were able to go to Montana to Steve Young. So you had Hall of Fame play for 17, 18 consecutive years. That just doesn't happen very often. It really doesn't. So, remember when Dan Marino leaves, then the quarterback void in Miami all those years. It just happens. There's just no way of getting around it. But, for a Cowboy fan, they had to be happy that they showed well on the road, especially with the COVID issues, not having a few players playing against, the defending champs. But you have to also be upset that you didn't seize that opportunity, because now we got 17 times to do that. And you and I both know it can change on just one play how your season goes, especially if your quarterback goes down. It's just.
And we're going to have injuries like you typically do in NFL, but we've also got COVID to deal with.
Yep.
And guys are going to test positive and not even have any symptoms, but not be able to play.
Absolutely.
And so,
absolutely.
And then we're going to have evil, doctors that sneak in and make guys test positive, even though they shouldn't. For some reason, golly, it looks like the quarterback for the other team tested positive. But anyways, it's going to be a crazy year.
And speaking of that, the Minnesota Viking quarterback situation is even that way with him not being vaccinated. I mean, what are they? That's 10 days. If he comes up with regardless if he's got it or whatever, it's automatically shut down for 10 days. So yeah, that's huge. It's a little shorter if you're vaccinated. I believe it's 5 if you're vaccinated, but if you're not, it's 10 days. That's 2 games. So anytime you miss 2 games, you're starting quarterback out, you're behind the 8 ball in trying to win in this league, because we got a handful of really good quarterbacks and everybody else you can kind of lump together. So that's huge. I also thought, well, not to change ship it a little bit, man, that NFC East, I thought the biggest shocker of the day may have been was the Philadelphia Eagles going in Atlanta and just curb stomping the Falcons 32-6. I mean, did anybody see this coming? I mean, I sure as heck didn't see it coming. And Jalen Hurts, I mean, he looked great. He looked like Randall Cunningham. I was like, wow, what? That stunned me this past Sunday.
Yeah, it's funny. I picked Jalen Hurts as my backup quarterback to Dak in my fantasy football league, and they both did great. I think Hurts scored about a point more, and everybody in my league thinks I'm a genius, and I'm pretty sure I just got lucky. But that was awesome. And as much as I cheered for the Eagles, I love when they're good and the Cowboys are good, because talk about games that really get the fans into it, and that's going to make this season a lot more fun.
Yep. Well, then, the rest of the division kind of what I thought may have come out. I mean, Washington has a tough loss at home, 20-16 there. They lose Fitzgerald. He goes on the short IR for them. They have a fabulous defense, Washington does, but still, it just seems like they're still just offensively challenged. And it seems like that they've been offensively challenged for a while now. It's just, I don't think Washington high-powered offense, it's been a long time since it's been that way. And it must be maddening being I can't say that anymore, Washington football team fan. It must be just maddening.
A football teamer. Yeah.
It must be, because they just seem like every 2 steps they take forward, it's 3 steps back. It just never seems like it's 2 and 1, and you see progress there. I just don't get it in their drafting, middle to the front of part of the draft. It just doesn't seem, it's like a black cloud. They're the new San Diego, they're the Clippers of the NFL now that just, it just seems like it's never going to get back around. I'm not sure. I just don't get it. But, they lost, and then, then the Giants, they lose a tough game at home against Denver there. And is it just me, or is it we have to kind of question Saquon Barkley a little bit if he's going to be durable? This is a guy that came from Penn State that was, one of those fast twitch athletes. His body was immaculate. Are these guys that are so twitchy now, are they too twitchy? because it seems like little ailments keep putting these great athletes out 2 or 3 weeks or whatever may be the case. They just can't seem to be at full strength all the time. I know it may be unfair. It may be a little early to say that, but I think it's a fair question though.
No, I think it's absolutely a fair question. But we never know the other side.
Yeah.
Does that guy, does he stretch adequately? Does he do yoga and do all the things he should be doing to make sure that doesn't happen? Or is he your typical bulletproof kid that just, it's always worked out for, and he's never had to worry about these things in the past, because as we age, things change. Is he adequately hydrated? Well, sure, I drank lots of sodas today. Well,
that's not
no, but it sounds silly and people are rolling their eyes listening to me, but I've seen it. I've watched Major League Baseball players who eat like crap, who don't adequately work out right or stretch enough or do these things. And I'm like scratching my head. It's like, if you're a model or an actor or professional athlete, how do you not work out every day? What else do you have to do that's more important than taking care of your office? Because you're walking around in your office. I don't get it.
I mean, and to me, if you're a professional athlete, especially in the off season, you're only talking about maybe a couple hours a day. So, I mean, you're not talking about it being an 8-hour deal, working overtime.
Right.
It's 2 hours.
Right. How many people can work out for 3 hours? I mean,
and you can pick and choose when to do it. I mean, so it's not like you got to clock in at 7:30 in the morning to do it and clock out. I never quite understood that. And I mean, I understand the money that these guys throw away at things. I'm thinking, why wouldn't you have that chef that just would cook great, healthy things for you round the clock? Instead of buying this, the new Ferrari, every other 5 months or whatever. And that would be the guy that would maybe give you longevity, which down the road gives you more on the backside. It's that now mentality so much that, I think people get, they lose sight of what really does count, is durability. I think about the older guys that, man, they played hurt because they knew if they missed couple games, they might be out of the league.
Right.
That's so guys went out there, man, I'm 70% and I better get out there. I don't have a choice. Now, if you get a little nick, whatever, go ice it, do this, go do some orange, therapy. I'm like, I don't know. I understand the money's changed all that, and that better than me, on what you can and can't do. It just seems like we've kind of wussed the professional ranks down a little bit. We've babied it a little bit, and then we expect them to go out there week 1 and excel, and they're not even hitting hard or whatever prior, and they haven't done that since last December or the first week of January. I just, things are going to happen. I mean, look at all the injuries that we did occur this weekend. I wonder if that's just a balance because you're not hitting beforehand.
I don't know. I recommend every one of my clients stretch 4 or 5 times a day, even during the off season. Wake up, stretch before your workout, stretch after your workout, stretch before bed. If you're going to have sex, stretch before that. I mean, it's
I need to take your advice. You're absolutely right, because I don't stretch near enough before or near enough after workout. There's absolutely, and that is something that limbers you up. That is something that is a necessity.
Well, it actually even helps you retain your strength, which people don't realize. Nautilus did a study back in the 70s.
Wow.
And it was like this goofy study. Yeah. If you do 12 reps of an exercise every week and add 5 pounds of weight, you're going to gain strength. Duh. If you miss a week, you're going to lose a little strength. Again, duh.
Right.
Here's the amazing part. If you don't lift that week, but adequately stretch those muscles, you don't lose any strength. You don't gain any, but you don't lose any strength. And that could last over 3 months of just stretching and maintaining that strength level you've got to. So that tells you how powerful stretching is.
Absolutely.
So if we're doing both, then what are we accomplishing?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I can guarantee you. 75% of people that go to the gym do not even think of stretching.
No,
Don't
because
not even a
you
thought.
don't stretch and then go look in the mirror and go, yeah, look at those guns, baby.
Give me that protein shake. Yeah. Well, not to wrap up. I don't want to wrap it up. I do want to hit two other games here that I thought were really interesting. First, I'll go with this. We'll go to the Mahomes game, that win on the Mahomes game. What about Green Bay going to play in Jacksonville last week against the New Orleans Saints? New Orleans Saints starts Jameis Winston, the much maligned Aaron Rodgers, his offseason, well, won't say shenanigans, but let's say drama that he had. Boy, was that a huge egg or what? I mean, goodness gracious, as they get blasted 38-3.
Yeah, that's I got just for the league's sake or what. I hope that was an anomaly, but that was terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you point your finger at as the worst part of it? It was all terrible.
Yeah, there was not one. I guess the only good thing is that they made their only field goal attempt. I mean, I don't know. I mean, like
Maybe
you said,
they want to make a trade with the Cowboys. Hey, kickers.
That was a complete team effort. There's not one person that lined up Monday morning and said, I played well. That was a thorough beatdown as you're going to get week one. And I mean, with all the anticipation of all the animosity that came up there, then everybody kind of kissing and making up during preseason. Aaron Rodgers didn't take a snap in preseason. He goes out there and it looks like he needed the whole preseason the way he threw the ball the other day. I mean, again, I know that they're never going to take these risks with these guys to play a whole lot of preseason games. I understand it. But, man, talking about going back to the drawing board, I mean, well, and you only got 6 – and people say, Detroit comes in town this weekend. That's still a division game. Your division partners know you better than anybody else. So it's not just a slam dunk that it's, the Lions are coming in town, we're going to knock them all the way around, as the general public may think. Those division games don't generally work that way.
No. And, it's not like Jared Goff's terrible. The guys won some playoff games,
Got to a Super Bowl.
Yeah. So I'm thinking I wouldn't take them very lightly.
No. And I it's just, it'd be, you expect to bounce back, but how long if you keep in that rut, in that mode of you're not playing well, does Green Bay say, well, Aaron Rodgers is going to leave next year anyway? Do we do something at the trading deadline with him? Is a third rounder better than nothing? Is a fourth rounder better than nothing? I don't know. I mean, I just something that my friend and I were talking about, yesterday. He's like, if they're wanted 6, what do you do? I don't know. It'd be interesting. And my last game I want to get to is obviously your buddy there, Pat Mahomes. I mean, great football game. That Sunday afternoon. I mean, gosh, CBS had to be thrilled having that game on TV with them. I mean, Browns and the Kansas City played another close football game at Arrowhead. It was 33-29. We know the Browns gave the Chiefs all the mustard last year in the playoffs at Arrowhead. It was nice. Well, I shouldn't be calling Arrowhead because I think they've changed the name of that already because of I think they have. So, but wasn't it nice to see that stadium was one of the most majestic stadiums that we still have alive, full again with that Midwest crowd? That was unreal, wasn't it?
I'm so tired of seeing empty seats. It just beats me down to some degree. And it's funny. Think about. I'm not sure I ever really looked at it from the other side. I would notice when there were empty seats at a game thinking, wow, that's terrible. They're not selling out or whatever, but it was rarely ever an NFL game.
Right.
And God, I miss it. I miss the crazy fans in costume and going nuts out there. It's nice to see that again.
And not only that, they also have a really entertaining football game to kind of go with it. I thought, you had the Cowboys and Bucks kick it off, and that was kind of almost the ender of the Sunday afternoon games to have it that way, which was really. And again, I know you're probably the same way. I'm a traditionalist, so I like it outside. I don't like the dome impact on it. Wish it was not, and wish it would go back to natural grass. I understand why they're kind of getting away from that, but I wish it was more like Metropolitan, which is one of my. Nothing better than seeing Chuck Foreman in his dirty, muddy jersey slopping in the Metropolitan slop in November 15th. I mean, I thought it was just awesome. But anyway, I don't want to get on a tangent. But yes, I mean, and that was a well played football game between two really good teams that I think both. I mean, they have obviously the Chiefs have aspiration for Super Bowl, but I said, Browns are starting to put some things together. So I mean, that roster's kind of coming around. The Browns, I think, go as far as Baker Mayfield takes them. If Mayfield can take the next step up, because they can run the football. I mean, we saw that the other day. They can run the football, and their defense is coming around. It's Mayfield's got to take that next step. I mean, this is year number 5. It was number 5 for him, I believe. So, it's time now. Are you going to be just above average, or are you going to try to put yourself in that top 10, 11 type quarterbacks in the league? So I think that would be.
I'd bet on it. I would. I'd bet on him. I think he's going to be one of those guys. And
he's so competitive. He's one of those guys that's so competitive. That's that other thing that you can't teach, that competitive drive. And he's got that. There's no question. Now, I know a lot of people borderline on arrogance with it, which I'm okay with hearing that. But I mean, he's a competitive guy. He's not going to let you win in anything. And you want that in your quarterback position. I mean, I even thought Tony Romo had a little of that.
Sure.
I mean, Tony Romo didn't want to get beat. I mean, say what you want, what he did in the offseason, whatever. When it was game day, that guy didn't want to lose. And that rallies people around you.
Yeah, Tony got cursed, and I got to blame Bill Parcells for this, man. And he was the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys and was still holding extra points and field goals. And I'm sorry, this may be a tacky thing to say, but if I'm the head coach for the opposing football team, I'm telling my gunners on each side, you hammer the starting quarterback while he's down there on a knee. I don't care. I'll pay the fine. Crush him, and thank goodness it never happened, but maybe something worse happened.
Right.
Because he fumbled that snap late in the game, which created a chain of events that caused him to make crucial mistakes late in games for the rest of his career.
Sure.
And not every time, but a significant amount to where he got labeled.
Yeah.
And it all happened that day, and that should have never been. No. That should not, you don't do that. And I'm sorry, I've ranted on this before, but it created a monster because I think Tony Romo was so talented. I don't know that I've ever seen many guys that were as good at rolling out the other way.
Yes, avoiding sacks. He avoided so many.
He was better rolling out to his left than he was standing in the pocket.
Yeah. He was slippery, very, very, very slippery in the pocket. That was he had a lot of frustrated defensive ends because they were counting sacks.
Either that messed him up. Either that messed him up or breaking up with Kerry Underpants would. One of those two.
I'm gonna go with the latter. That's what I'm gonna do. Well, we just have a few moments here. We talk a little bit about college football, just kind of hit on a couple of things here. And I guess the biggest thing for me would be is that the Oregon Ducks going into C-Bus last week and putting up a 35 spot in their backyard against the Bucks. I mean, you're talking about a team that really struggled the week before to score points. Their best player, Mr. Thibodeau, got hurt in the first game. he was a shell of himself last Saturday as he got taken out, I believe, in the second quarter. He's a guy that's probably a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. He basically doesn't play in his game. There has to be some people asking what's going on with the defense in Ohio State. We knew that their offense has been really good during this stretch since Ryan Day has taken over. But the defense, which was so strong with the Bosa kids and all that, they're always putting these guys in the NFL from that side. They're not getting stops. And I mean, for them, the Pac-12, the much maligned Pac-12, for them to go out there and get, that was a huge feather in their cap last week.
I'm not even going to, I guess I'm way less harsh on college football early in the season.
Sure.
Because they're younger, because they don't have the same type of preseason.
Sure.
I don't know. It's just, I like to give them 3 weeks before I really, it probably shouldn't be in today's world with, with where we're heading with the college athletes and NLIs and,
got $1 million third
on the cover.
Got $1 million third string quarterback up there in Buckeye land.
Yeah, but we'll see if this continue to be the Ohio State.
Yes. Well, then, I would like to go see I call this the ultimate hangover. Notre Dame and Florida State, they play a real good football game last Sunday. And Notre Dame wins in overtime. They come home against Toledo, and then Toledo, I mean, the Muddits, the Rockets give them everything that they want in touchdown Jesus' backyard. And to tell you the truth, in hindsight, when I was thinking about this, if the Toledo quarterback who scores on the 26-yard TD to give them the lead, if he just falls down at the 1 to 5 yard line and doesn't score, Notre Dame only has one timeout. You're talking about kicking an extra point where no time is left on the clock. You win. You don't give Notre Dame a minute 45 to go back down the field and score a TD against us. Now, not many people think that way. Toledo, you're going to score. You score TD, force them to go down and score 7 and all that. I mean, I know it's a little hindsight. I know it's a little Monday morning quarterback-ish a little bit, but I think that you probably were thinking of that a little bit when you got on that bus to go back to Ohio, with that tough loss that they had.
No, that is a conundrum. And we end up talking about these situations every year, but you do have to think about it. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to win the game, right? So what's that take? And sometimes it does take that, I'd rather take that gamble. It's not like you have to score to win. So why not? Why not? Let's roll some time off.
The things about it is that you can fall at the 5, you can line it up, you can take 2 snaps where you're just kneeling on the ball in the middle of the field. I mean, so you're really only talking about moving 1 snap to move it to the middle of the field, and you're talking about an 18-yard field goal, at that point in time to win the game. And then then this whole narrative changes completely. We're talking Notre Dame's out of the hunt. We're talking this. I mean, it's just, I wonder if you have enough coaches coach this kind of thing up. Do you have enough time? I guess I should say. The limited practice time that you got, do you talk about game scenarios and actually practice those, all the way through? Does something get jaded a little bit because we don't have enough time this week? I don't know,
I don't know, but to get a little more serious, I've started a petition. I'm a quarter Irish. McGinley is my grandmother's name, and the Fighting Irish I'm very offended by, okay, because I'm a hugger, not a fighter. I'm Billy Martin's son, and I'm going to start a petition to change the name of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish because I'm very offended, Kenny.
That is so funny because nobody talks about that at all. Nobody.
I mean, I'm Italian too, so if we were the Fighting Italians, I'd be okay with it. But Irish don't fight. Oh, wait a minute, they're pretty good fighters. Never mind, I'm over it. Let it
They,
go.
they just blame it on the leprechaun, right? That's what it is, isn't it? It's the leprechaun. And speaking of the second half of that team that played Florida State at home, Jacksonville State, and yes, that's Jacksonville State from Alabama, folks, that comes down here, who had just got beat the week before 30-0 at home by University of Alabama, Birmingham. And they go in there and went on a Hail Mary in Tallahassee. And I'm thinking somewhere, somehow, even the great smiling Bobby Bowden somewhere had to say, "Are you kidding me?" It's unbelievable how that fall has come down. For 15 years, that was a pinnacle program, top 5, top 3, whatever you want to call it, countless people going to the NFL. And for them, I was talking to Buddy over the weekend. I said that fall can be really drastic sometimes. For them to try to get back there, it seems like it's even harder to get back to where you were instead of staying at that level. Because right now, obviously, it's a talent issue and it's a coaching issue that's there now. I mean, it's prolonged and it's multiple staffs now.
Yeah, and it'll get painted as whoever has the least amount of power. It'll be the recruiting coordinator that gets replaced first, and then we'll have to figure out what is really wrong.
Well, and you know this, Billy. I mean, you've got hotbeds for every sport in certain regions, and I mean, and it just seems impossible to me that this many people that can play at a high level in Division I, Power 5 in the state of Florida. Why is it that Florida State is not getting some of that crop, keep them up where they're at? I just don't understand that. I mean, I want somebody to explain it to me, but it just doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you got 12, 13 Florida players every year on your roster. You should be pretty darn good. I mean,
you ask any kid in Florida what team they want to play for. I mean, they almost all say Florida State. I hear it from baseball players.
Right.
It's who I'll ask them, what was your favorite college team growing up? Because I'm always curious. It's 90% of the time Florida State.
Wow.
And
they had an iconic coach there for a number of years too, Mr. Martin. Yeah, that kind of helped a little bit. But think about that program with those two guys. I mean, you had Bobby Bowden and Mr. Martin there for 30-something plus years.
And what a clown! Now they've got a son of a Martin. That's got to be a weirdo, right? Oh, wait a minute. No, he's great. I talk to him every now and then. I've sent them a couple players over the years, and yeah. And then you had a guy like Dick Hauser there forever, and that.
Yeah, that's
a great place. It's a great place. It's a great school. It's great tradition, and
it's to me, like I said, it's mind-boggling to me to see them be a bottom feeder as opposed to being at the top of the ACC. That should never happen. It shouldn't be. And now you have to kind of reassess yourself again. But it was easy to blame Taggart for the issues last year. Now this is squarely on Norvell. This time around, you took a really good effort against Notre Dame 5-6 days prior, and now you've really just poo-pooed on that when you go out there and have Jackson State beat you in your own backyard. Talking about going back to the drawing board. We're at the drawing board again for sure with them.
Yeah.
There's no question.
How many of those losses till the changes are made? If there's 2 more of those this year, somebody's head's rolling.
Somebody's got to go. And we'll briefly wrap it up with, boy, what a game up there in Arkansas land on the Saturday night. Man, Pig Suey. They basically just said, hey, we're going to punch you in the mouth from the opening kick to the end. and rushed for 330 something yards against that vaunted Texas defense, which we thought was going to be really good this year. I know we have growing pains with a freshman quarterback or starting quarterback. I understand that part of it. I just don't think that Texas responded to the physicality that the Arkansas threw at them the other night. That to me would be the most disturbing thing if I was a UT fan. Not that you actually lost the game. It's just that you actually said, hey, we're going to run between this tight end and this tackle over here. We're not going to trick it up too much, but we're just going to move you off the line of scrimmage. And that's what Arkansas did. That to me would be the bigger issue if I was a UT fan.
Absolutely. Because come on, at the end of the day, that's where most games are won or lost for me. They're at the line. If I'm building a program, that's where I start. I mean, obviously, your quarterback is very important. Your running back's very important. If you got a great offensive line, those guys are going to look a whole lot better, even if they're not that good. All right. Then you find the great one. Then you've got, a championship program. But if your line great, your team's going to be great.
And talk about atmosphere. Boy, Pig fan been waiting for UT fan to come up there for a long time. Boy, let me tell you, they let them know how much they miss. They let them know. I was like thinking, man, that had to have been pretty good atmosphere to be inside that stadium last Saturday night because, man, you could hear it through the television set easily. And I know that it's a traditional thing, and I'm a Southwest Conference guy. Back, you and I both kind of grew up with the Raycom and Southwest Conference. It was kind of great just to see that again. The red and white stripes in the stands, the way it was out. I mean, that was college football. That's what we were missing this time last year. That atmosphere part to it. It was nice to see the game that was on, but you were tuned in because you heard the atmosphere, and that's what I enjoyed Saturday night.
Sure.
And it didn't hurt the UT loss. And it didn't hurt the UT loss too. So yeah.
I've got two kids at Texas Tech University, my alma mater. And my last time to visit them, I took them to a place on the campus called Southwest Conference Circle, where it literally has all the old programs. And it's, I don't know, it's probably 30, 40 feet wide. I don't even know what it was designed for. And my kids both looked at me and said, what's the Southwest Conference, Dad?
Oh.
I'll get back to your video games. Never mind.
You're just like, let me take both daggers out of the heart.
Yeah.
No, where did I go wrong raising you? My daughter has no idea what the Southwest Conference is either, so don't worry about that. She knows what the Big 12 is. Oh, I'll take that back. She knows one team in the Big 12. That's Oklahoma. So maybe UT.
Not for long.
Yes. And boy, I hope next week we need to talk about that because obviously the Big 12 get 4 new invites coming in next year. I really want to talk a little bit about that because I've got some hot sports opinions on that for sure because is that more going to be the AC? Is that going to be more the Pac-12 or is that going to be more the American Conference now? Where is the new Big 12 really going to be? Because I think you can't put that as a major top 5 conference the way it's going to be constructed going forward. I don't see that, but that's for our next Balls to the Walls episode. So we'll leave you a little food fodder there. But anyhow, Billy Martin, thank you so much again. I know we've had some issues trying to schedule all this. I thank you for working around that. Hopefully next week, Nicholas Harris will be back with us from assignment. 247's got a guy busy down there. I think he's trying to do some game planning with Sark right now down at UT. I think they're calling everybody in to help. But they do have the feisty Nightbirds coming to town. So I think UT will get healthy this week with Rice coming in town. So anyhow, but hey, we appreciate you listening to us. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Balls to the Walls, Friday Night Glory. Subscribe to us also there. And check us out this weekend on our website. We'll have some Twitter going. I'll be working with the boss man on Friday night, Pilot Point. And I can't remember. Oh, Gunter. Thank you. Yes, Pilot Point and Gunter. So I'll be in the land of Pilot Point Friday night. So looking forward to that. Billy Martin, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.